Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kaiser Isaiah Foo, and today we're going to be doing another different type of video to my usual ones. With Planet Zoo's likely final DLC for this year, the Europe Pack, finally being released and myself being too lazy to do more gacha animations due to my motivation being as dead as a rotting corpse in a grave, I thought that this would be the perfect time to talk about today's video topic. Now, as we all know, the animals in Planet Zoo play an extremely important role within the game. They are pretty much the most important things within it. And despite an absolutely insane roster of 122 animals the Frontier has given us added with all the DLCs, Planet Zoo is still missing a lot more animals, and many of which have been highly requested. So today, I will be talking about the top 10 animals I want the most for Planet Zoo. Now, here's how this works. There are 10 animals within the list. 2 of them will be exhibit animals, the little guys in the glass tanks, and the other 8 shall be habitat animals. For this list, I will pretty much not cover many Aviary or Aquarium Life. They will be covered in another video if I do intend to make one. And now, without further ado then, let us begin with the list. Coming in at the number 10 slot, we have what is the most recognizable snake in the world. That is, of course, the majestic and venomous King Cobra. I was surprised that the giant Malaysian leaf insect was announced to be the exhibit animal for the Southeast Asian DLC pack, rather than the King Cobra. But, you know, Frontier is Frontier after all. The King Cobra has been a highly requested animal ever since Planet Zoo's launch, and it would definitely be a good choice. Being a snake that is both an expert swimmer and climber, I can assume its habitat layout would be similar to that of the yellow Anaconda, but in a more Southeast Asian environment. And that, of course, being the King Cobra likely means it has a lot of potential with its idle animations. Though due to its immense size, I'm not sure how Frontier can handle the King Cobra. Perhaps with an exhibit enclosure update in the future, or even the King Cobra being an habitat animal itself. Both of which I would not mind at all. At number 9, coming from the fresh waters of Mexico, we have the adorable mud puppies, the axolotl, which are in fact my favorite amphibian and my third favorite animal. Axolotls would be a massive game changer for Planet Zoo should they arrive as of this time, as currently there are no exhibit animals that are fully aquatic. Being extremely small, there would not be a need for a change of the size of the exhibits for the mud puppy. And there will likely be a new setting for the axolotl exhibit, which players will likely very much be into. Like the diamondback terrapins and American bullfrogs, these amphibians will likely have their swimming animations. But with them always being in water, hopefully this means that they will have a little more animations to hog to themselves. And with Planet Zoo focusing a decent amount on threatened species, axolotls being critically endangered might help them land into the game. Next on the list at number 8 is a creature once thought of as myth. A giant amphibian that is also our first habitat animal on this list. This being the Japanese giant salamander. It would be quite the weird addition to have a giant salamander in the game. And you know what? You're absolutely right. The Japanese giant salamander is an animal that doesn't really do much, spending pretty much all of their time trying to stay still camouflaging with their environment. However, I think that just having a big old salamander in your zoo would actually be something very interesting, and it would be also another expansion for the Japanese animal representatives in the game, which as I'm aware of, as far as I'm aware that is, we do not really have that many. Despite its behavior of course being pretty much exhibit animal-like, with it being one of the world's largest amphibians, I do not think that leaving it in an exhibit would work very well. And with its conservation status, this creature might likely not even make an appearance at all, having itself replaced with the more threatened Chinese giant salamander, which I also do not mind. Rolling in at number 7 is my favorite species of turtle emerging from the rivers and streams that flow into the Gulf of Mexico. These of course are the alligator snapping turtle. The alligator snapping turtle might not do that much, just like the Japanese giant salamanders we were talking about before. However, these guys would move about way more than the chunky amphibians earlier. Alligator snappers would be also another interesting choice for habitats, as it is a smaller type of reptile that is a bit too big for the exhibits, probably having a similar situation to the Nile monitor lizard. the alligator snapping turtles would also be an expansion to the American wildlife at Planet Zoo, and I'm sure that would be nice for some of the American fans. If Frontier would also add the common snapping turtle into the game someday, I do hope that they will be able to coexist in the same habitat, without problems like the ones in Singapore's River Safari. Their small size and inability to climb or jump likely means that the fence height required for them is extremely small, allowing visitors to view them by looking over the fences. A nice idea, as long as they don't stick their bloody hands near the mouth of the alligator snapping turtle. Slithering into number 6 is the world's heaviest snake, the god of the Amazon, the green anaconda. The green anaconda will be a great habitat animal, as it does move a decent amount and is really large, way too big for any exhibit to contain it. The green anaconda is also an animal that spends most of its time in water, and as it's a really good diver, we could build an underwater viewing for it. An animal native to South America, it would certainly be a very welcome addition, as many people were expecting it during the South America DLC pack. All that aside, it would be fun to see how silly it'd be when an anaconda charges at its prey before killing them in one bite, because Frontier, unfortunately, made Planet Zoo a game that is not centered around combat, which honestly kinda makes sense. Unless they have the anaconda constrict the prey to consume them, which would be a major hype moment for me. Anacondas also give birth, yes, they just straight up give birth, to many offspring at a time, and this could be a really great way to farm conservation credits. Swooping down into the number 5 slot from the swamps of Africa, we have the shoebill. A bit of a weird choice for what is the only bird on this list, but you know what, it is what it is. Despite these angry looking birds with calls that would give war veterans PTSD, capable of flight, they're very similar to flamingos in that they're water birds that like to stick to the ground a lot and usually don't take to flight a lot as well. Shoebills would probably be quite noisy in the zoos that players will build, but at least they aren't to the level of friggin' peacocks. And with them not harming humans at all for some reason, they're pretty friendly to humans actually, I assume that they might potentially be able to have walkthrough exhibits, and that would be great. What I do hope to see Frontier do, however, is perfect their animation for the calls. And if they manage to pull that off, I'd be an extremely happy man. Not much to say here for the shoebill, but if they were to be added in an aviary pack and they could fly as well, that'd really be awesome. Diving down into number 4 from the North Pacific Oceans, we have my second favorite animal of all time, the ribbon seal. While there are more popular and probably better choices for the puny pets for Planet Zoo, like the harbor seal, leopard seal, or even the elephant seal, the ribbon seal would be the seal I want the most for Planet Zoo. Extremely rare in captivity, with me only knowing of one of them captive in an aquarium in Japan, they would make an extremely interesting choice, but not conservation-wise, as they're a class as least concerned. Ribbon seals have a very beautiful black and white coat, something similar to that of a count, which might interest players in it. They're very friendly with other seals as well, making them capable of sharing living space with them in a habitat should it be big enough. While of course it's not the most popular seal, I'd be really hyped should the ribbon seal enter my favorite game. Battling into number 3 from the Australian freshwater creeks is everyone's favorite Aussie beaver duck. It's the duck-billed platypus. Planet Zoo has a massive lack of Australian animals, just like the South American representatives. Some of these examples include the wombat, Tasmanian devil, emu, and echidna, but my favorite among the bunch is the platypus. The platypus would make for an extremely adorable habitat animal. Its small size means that its habitat doesn't need to be that big, and if the platypus was one of the animals that the Xbox version of Zoo Tycoon surprisingly did right, I'm very sure that Frontier could also bring it justice once more. With these living omelette machines spending most of their time in water, I assume this means that they wouldn't mind coexisting habitat with a kangaroo or something, unless they live in different biomes. I forgot to do my research. Nonetheless, if platypuses were to make it to Planet Zoo, I'm scrapping my Indian rhinoceros exhibit to make way for these little suckers. As we propel ourselves nearer to the end of this video, we find ourselves at the penultimate slot. At number 2, we have everyone's favorite sea cow, the manatee, which is the only type of aquarium animal I have on this list. Now, there are 2 main types of manatee that draw the most importance between the rest. The Amazonian manatee would be a great addition for the South American species in Planet Zoo, and the West Indian manatee would also be a nice choice for the American animal roster. No matter what is chosen, I'd still be very much excited for the way that the animals would be implemented in. As aquatic animals, they likely be built in enclosures with underwater viewings, just like the way that the aquatic animals in Jurassic World Evolution 2 happened. Not to mention, the various amount of ways that builders can go ham on with the aquatic exhibit designs. Examples be like Best in Slot or Geekism. Manatees also have various interesting behaviors like how they can just flip over upside down for some reason, and if Frontier can get that right, I'd definitely be very excited for it. Before we head to our number 1 spot, I'd like to go over a few honorable mentions that didn't manage to make it to the list. There are 5 in total, 4 habitat animals and 1 exhibit animals like your regular Planet Zoo DLC. As that is pretty much half the number of animals on the list, I will try to go through them extremely quickly. The Brazilian Rainbow Boa is my favorite species of snake. Its beautiful reflective coloring when the sun shines on the skin makes it very unique, and I like to see how Frontier can tackle this creature. With it being a relatively smaller sized constrictor, it definitely would fit well as an exhibit animal. The giant armadillo is a very interesting animal, being the largest of its family by a wide margin. Without the ability to curl into a ball like its smaller cousins, they dig burrows to escape from predators. While I do not think that they would make it into Planet Zoo before their smaller alternatives, giant armadillo would be a very welcome choice for an armadillo representative. The Caiman Lizard is a very unique species of reptile. It spends a lot of its time underwater and is a very good swimmer, meaning that you could build a smaller size exhibit for it while it has an underwater viewing. They can also live with different types of species, so a multi-species exhibit might work well for them, with creatures that are friendly to it. The African leopard is still one of the most wanted African animals amongst the fanbase, and it was very much expected in the base game of Planet Zoo, being a big surprise that it surprisingly wasn't added in. It is a very powerful climber, and I can assume that we can expect it spending a lot of time on the treetops, similar to the koalas. Hopefully this beautiful feline will be added someday, perhaps in his second Africa DLC pack. What I thought would have been the first otter representative, the Asian small clawed otter, is my favorite amongst the bunch. Their small size and adorable looks would make it a massive fan favorite amongst the Planet Zoo community. Plus, it wouldn't hurt to have a second otter, would it? Well, at least the players can smell them too. I remember how foul their scents are in the zoo. That's the mustard-lit family for you people. And finally, coming in at the number 1 spot are the boys who pull up, hopping out at the after party. You know what I'm talking about, everyone's favorite rodent, they are the capybaras. When it was revealed that capybara wasn't one of the animals that was in the South American DLC pack, fans were very much shocked in disbelief that such a beloved animal wasn't added to the game. And ever since launch all the way till now, the request for capybaras continues to grow even stronger, and I would be one of those people too. Funnily enough, capybaras aren't my favorite animal, those go to the Nile hippopotamus. But you know what, I'd still really love for my coconut doggies to be added to the game. Well, they probably wouldn't add much to the game rig-wise. Capybaras are, if I'm not mistaken, the most highly requested animal for the game as of this time. And of course, Frontier has to do them someday. They are fan favorites after all. Also, this means that we will have our first giant rodent within Planet Zoo, unless Frontier decides to go with like the porcupine or something. The capybara is also an extremely friendly species to many people, and also to humans as well, I guess, meaning that it'd be capable of living with different species that aren't its predators. Maybe with the exception of the Cuvier dwarf caiman, as capybaras have been shown being chilled with reptiles as well, just like caimans. And that's pretty much all I have to say. The most wanted animal I wish to see in Planet Zoo are the coconut doggies, the capybara. Welp, that's pretty much all I have for this video. I've been trying to move away from gacha animations with my laziness to do animation, so do expect more commentaries and videos like these instead. Though of course they do put a strain on my voice because I always keep messing up lines and I try to rate them as much energy as I can. Excuse me. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching. If you're interested in this type of stuff, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you don't care, if you don't want to subscribe, that's cool too. I hope you all have a great day, and I hope to see you all another time. Always remember to manage your finances properly. Sayonara.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna